Oh, have you? Sorry, it doesn't show.
It shows to me. Recording pending.
Recording started. Okay, yeah, now it's started.
Okay,
Okay.
it has started. Okay. Okay.
Raja, do you want to start, and then I can introduce Noha?
Yeah. Hello to everyone. Thank you very much for joining our seminar series. This is, I don't know, I'm not counting already because they are becoming so popular, and we are doing so many of these seminars that almost every week we conduct these seminars, and we have 2 more upcoming, at least this month. We are conducting this seminar series, which is called Women in Entrepreneurship, or Women Empowerment and Women in Entrepreneurship, within the British Council's Creative Spark Education Enterprise Programme. This is our 2nd year of the Creative Spark project in cooperation with Middlesex Universities UK. During the 1st year of the project, we had implemented an idea of bringing innovation, creativity, and entrepreneurship forefront during our teaching and trainings. That's why we have embedded some part of entrepreneurship in different discipline called design and art and design, which is not usual for this part of the world, that innovation, creativity, and entrepreneurship is a part of a module. That was the idea we wanted to bring forefront, that every student should be ready for the job market, not depending on his discipline, on the major he's studying. And this year we decided to focus on women and entrepreneurship, how well women are doing in entrepreneurship, because there are usually some biases, or statistic is not in favor of a woman, especially in Azerbaijani case, that there are not lots of women in entrepreneurship, although there is a growing tendency that women are becoming largely involved in entrepreneurship in Azerbaijan. And I think this seminar series also gives certain inspiration to our students or attendees of these seminars that it's possible to do. And all our speakers are actually proving how it's possible, and it's nothing, it has nothing to do with the gender. It's just the willingness and your readiness to take a risk and to go for it. So I would like to thank Noha for agreeing to be part of our seminar today. And my colleague George will introduce her, because they know each other for a while, and I think he's the right person to introduce. Please, George.
Thank you very much, Raja. And first of all, I wanted to congratulate our partners, Kazar University. We work hand in hand for this webinar series. I think that we're almost now at number 10 or counting. You mentioned we have 2 more. Don't forget that I have 3 speakers, 2 from Turkey, 1 from US, and confirming 1 more from Greece and 1 from the US. So, sorry, from the UK. So I think we're going to keep going till July, probably. It's going to be, so the heat is on these presentations. It's really proud of what we have achieved so far. It's been my pleasure and honor to have Dr. Noha Saleeb, Associate Professor of Middlesex University, to doing this webinar. I know we have only 1 hour, but I need more than an hour just to introduce her, because she's an esteemed colleague and a dear friend of mine. Noha has a hugely successful background, because she's an architect. She started with postgraduate studies in computer science. She moved into a PhD. She's done her research in virtual environments, virtual learning environments, then virtual worlds and virtual educational worlds, then to move back into building information modeling, creating, now she's leading multiple units into developing a digital twin project. And she is the leader of our programs when it comes to architectural designs, and it's in between the architecture and engineering and computer science field. So she's a truly multidisciplinarian. But the most important thing, that the reason why I invited Noha to be in this presentation, and because I think she's going to be an aspirational people, and as I told you, I promised that it would be like we have 20 and counting from the people. So so I need to take 1 more screenshot, because the first one that I took from you, Noha, was with 7 people, so it doesn't do fair. But the very interesting thing with Noha is that she has a great story to tell because she is a mother of two. She was in Egypt and she was very successful as a visiting lecturer for universities, but also as a school teacher. And then she did a career change. So basically, she became a university professor in England. So what Noha can actually tell you is that how this has affected a female scholar, academic, and a professional. Because it's not only she managed to become a mother and being a mother, being a wife, being a student, being a professional, and also know how, because she does not have a business of her own, what she has is like a very successful record of how she promotes what we do at Middlesex. So that is the element. So today we're focusing on intrapreneurship. In other words, how you can be creative within an organization. So those young ladies who are attending this webinar, who you do not have the will to create your own business, entrepreneurship means that you can be innovative, creative, and have your entrepreneurial skill set and mindset put in practice for organization. And this is what Noha will explain. So thank you very much, Noha. It's been an honor to have you here. Floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much, George. Thank you, Razia. Thank you, everybody. I don't know what to say after this introduction. It's a huge expectation now, but I hope that my humble story will do something to inspire some people. I will take you on my whirlwind of a little bit of a story, and I'm open to any questions if you want to ask me anything. Can I share my screen? Just a couple of pictures, nothing too elaborate. Just 1 second, I'm just getting it up. Okay. All right. Can everybody see my screen?
Yeah, we can see you fine.
All right. So, okay. So, as mentioned, my name is Noha. I'm currently an associate professor in construction and digital technologies at Middlesex University, but I have a bit of a story behind that, and I'd like to take you, I mean, you've got a few titles here in front of you of what I currently have, but I would like to start at the very beginning. So, by the way, I'm an introvert, a little bit of an introvert by nature, so it's not I'm like that grand person who goes in social events and things and starts promoting themselves or seeks out stuff. But what I've learned over the years, many years, is that there's absolutely nothing impossible if you put your mind to it. No matter how small, I mean, I'm a bit tiny, or timid or introverted or whatever you are, everything is possible if you just put your mind to it. So I won't bore you. I mean, I was born in Kuwait. I'm initially I'm by background Egyptian. I live in the UK now, but I'm by background Egyptian. I was born in Kuwait, and I took my primary school education there. And since I was like in school, I've always wanted to like study in the UK when I finished my school education. I was a bit of a geek, still am. So when I came to finish my high school education, my parents, bless them, they thought that would be, like a bit dangerous for a girl to go and be on her own in the UK and study and stuff. So the decision was for me to go back to Egypt and study architecture, which I love, in Egypt. At the beginning, it was a bit of a challenge because my parents were not there. I was on my own with my aunt, and it took a little bit of adjusting to the new situation and stuff. But eventually, I got my degree in architecture from the university in Egypt. And I had not forgotten my dream of pursuing post-grad. I mean, I've always wanted to pursue post-grad. It was still not possible. I got married immediately after I finished university. I had my 2 sons. And lo and behold, instead of pursuing a career, which I have always wanted to, I was a stay-at-home mom. I had to take care of my 2 boys. The most I could do was like do things online. At that time, there wasn't a lot of computer programs and stuff to help architects, but there were a few. So I would do some work from home on my computer and, you know, like contribute in that way so that I don't forget at least. But at that particular time, there was no prospect for any big career or anything. And then once my kids started going to nursery and at school and so on and so forth, I said to myself that I have to start getting out there again. I started working in their school, actually, to be near them, but I started studying on the side courses, you know, like getting myself back into the field again. I started studying normal computer courses, you know, like which come to everybody with normally now, starting with the Microsoft suite, you know, like very, very simple things. And then little by little, after about 6-7 years of doing that, working in my children's school, I was promoted to be head of department of the IT department at the school. And it was then that I thought to myself, well, I mean, why don't I just go a bit further and start thinking about the career that I always wanted to? So I thought to myself, I'll study an MSc. I've always wanted to. And since I can't leave my kids and since I can't go abroad, how about start thinking of something that I can do remotely? And I found this program that was in partnership with Middlesex University, where that George would know of that, of course. It was a master's that was in computer science related. And I thought to myself, that is exactly what I want to challenge myself to do. My background is architecture, but I can see the prospects of computer science in architecture. So I thought to myself, I'll just push myself and do it. And it was remotely done. So I enrolled on that, and I can't tell you the frustration or the, you know, like the feeling of how little I felt when I first started it, because everybody on that cohort who were with me were all graduates of computer science in one way or another from university. I was the only one who was coming from a background in architecture, and many of the modules required programming, Java, networks, you name it. But I thought to myself, I'll just do it, you know, I'll just do my best. And I'm really thankful I did my best with it. And in the end, I came top of that cohort. Don't ask me why or how, but I did it, and I came top of the cohort. And even in my graduation, Middlesex, you know, like named me as the prize owner of the best graduate of that. And on the back of that, they even offered me a scholarship for a PhD. Again, a lovely surprise that came my way. And this is when I met George. So I started looking for, you know, like esteemed supervisors to, you know, to be with me on my PhD, which was going to be distance learning. So I would go to UK some times of the year, but I was mainly still based in Egypt with my family and my kids. And I met George, and he was absolutely fantastic. I mean, I don't know how to describe. I still remember that first meeting that I had with him. And we decided to go towards a subject which was both architecture and virtual environments or computer science related. So we decided to merge the two under his supervision and advice. And that was another 3.5 years. I can remember that I pushed myself very hard to finish like a full-timer. I mean, as a part-timer, because I was distance learning, I had like 4 or 5 years to do it. I decided to push myself, and George was so supportive as well. He would even supervise me while he was in hospital, which was absolutely amazing. But what I want to say is that my mentality at that time was never to give up. I was doing 2 jobs at that time. I had left my job at the school. I was working as a lecturer at the American University in Cairo. I was also doing architectural work on the side, and I had my family, but at the same time, I was doing my PhD. And it somehow worked. Once you put your mind to it, it does really work. And after those years of my PhD, George told me that there were openings at Middlesex University because they were hiring because they wanted to open an architectural / construction projects at the university. And upon, of course, George's guidance, and I applied and I got accepted. And I moved to the UK to start leading a program. As you can see in front of you here on screen, that was the first program that I started on in 2013. That's called Building Information Modeling Management and Integrated Digital Delivery. And it's like a new way of using computer science and virtualization and 3D modeling within construction. At that time, this was a completely new initiative that was led by the UK government. And it was very daunting for me because I was not only a new resident in the UK, I was still feeling my way around the country, the university, everything. But I was also asked to lead a program that was virtually extremely new in the whole of the UK and in the world at that time, the building information modeling. I was very fortunate to be able to do that, and it became a very, very successful program at the university. Even though I'm quite introverted, I would push myself to go to as many networking events as possible within industry, to talk to people, even though it's not my comfort zone at all. And little by little, I managed to form a very formidable network from industry partners as well, to talk with them about different projects and do different projects with them. As you can expect, the journey continued on from there. And I am now also leading 2 other programs. One of them, my undergraduate, the Bachelor Degree in Architectural Technology. I stopped that last year, but I'm now leading a new one starting this year. So these are all the programs that I'm leading at the university at the moment. And I'm also editor-in-chief of an international journal. I have joined a BIM Africa organization initiative for BIM as well. And I'm on the strategic group for the Chartered Institute of Building, the BIM for Heritage, and lately the one that George was mentioning, the London Digital Twin Centre. This is supposed to be a huge project that I'm currently leading to implement digital twins across the whole university. Across the way, I was very fortunate to have a few awards as well. So in 2015, the International Building Business Excellence Award that was in Dubai was for best program that I was doing at the time. I was very fortunate to get that one. The one that I'm really proud of is the Best European Women in Construction Award that I was given in 2016, and that is to, well, what they said was to celebrate my accomplishments in this area, not just as a partner of industry, but also as a mentor and tutor for many women in this area as well. So that one is particularly very, very dear to my heart. I love teaching, and it's always been part of me and always will be. I was also fortunate to get an Academic Staff of the Year award at university, and most lately, last year, my program was also awarded another award from the Hong Kong Institute of BIM. So currently, I'm doing a few projects, so maybe I can show you a few things of what I've been doing. So this is one of the first things that I started with George. At the time, it was extremely innovative for us to include 3D environments and 3D virtual environments in teaching. And George and I were having a blast doing these kinds of things during my PhD and even after it. These are the buildings that I created inside an environment called Second Life, and we were teaching our students inside of it. After that, I dabbled a little bit in artificial intelligence inside those systems. So I would create AI bots And these would sort of like do role play for the students, have them do different tasks inside there, react as if they're actual normal human beings. And it was a lot of fun for the students, in addition to engagement and helping them achieve their teaching and learning perspectives. This is other examples that I did in architecture as well, inside those immersive environments. So this was a task called Dream Environment, where we had the students create models and think about if they're real estate agents, how would they sell it to the clients. There was health and safety as well, and things like that. My most recent projects related to industry, not academia per se, is funded projects which I've been doing to create a classification system for heritage buildings. Now, what you see in front of you is a 3D and 2D representation of the classification system, but this is currently being used on several very important buildings in both Egypt and the UK. So this, for example, is Tosun Palace in Egypt, where we are using the 3D modeling and classification system on for the different components inside the building as well. And currently we are also doing that with the Westminster Palace here in UK, the Parliament Palace, to try to use that system. And the most recent, of course, is the digital twin that we're doing with the university. So, I mean, I've been really, really blessed with the way that my trajectory went. It wasn't easy. I had the challenge of, juggling between work, family, my own personal discomforts of being a little bit of an introvert, as I said. But once you put your mind to it, nothing is impossible. Absolutely nothing is impossible. And as George always tells me, consider everything as a project, you do it, and then you move on. And it is true. Once you put your mind to something, you can do it. So that's my 2 pence for today.
Okay, so I think that, I'm going to try to do it more like an interview while we're waiting for questions. Razia, Sabina, if we can get questions even in any language, really. So we do not need to be in English. So if you want to ask first for the students, but I have several questions to ask, and it's amazing. We have 83 people and counting, which is good.
Wow.
Yeah, this is great. I don't think that any other language works here. People know English. All of them are, most of them are our students. So they will try to speak English if they have questions. But can I go first, George, about?
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much, Noha. It's very interesting and inspiring, your story. That's tremendous, awards and programs you have established in the UK, and it's open to everyone. I was wondering while you were speaking, I was wondering, and I did guess actually that you are a very internally motivated person. So you have all the, motivational and inspirations inside you that comes, which is actually very good for one to aspire and to achieve results. But do you somehow think about some external motivators, or what serves for you as an external incentive? I mean, how it drives you, or is there a balance between them, or is it disbalance, or how it works in your case, for example?
You mean as role models or people who have been supporting me?
No, I'm talking about your motivators for you. If I do, for example, this, I will get thousands of pounds for this project, and it's going to serve as a motivator for me, or it's something that you get satisfied as you finish your project and everyone looks and says how nice it is and you are motivated. So how it works, your internal or external motivators?
It might seem a little cheesy, but since I was little, I have always been motivated by seeking knowledge. It's like an addiction for me. I want to learn more. I want to be able to do more. That has always been a driver for me, and I have never forgotten it. I mean, since I got married, and afterwards, like those first 15 years, it's just been at the back of my mind. It's like this is like an interim period. Yes, I'm stagnant right now, but I am going to get there. I am going to get there. And to be honest, I didn't even know if I was going to be. I started at least 10 years later than everybody else I know that who graduated with me. And I am so blessed to be in a position that many of them don't even have now. So regarding motivator, I think it's that seeking of knowledge that has been really inside of me all the time. And it still is. I'm still always excited like a little kid when something new comes my way. I just want to see what it is, read it. Even if I don't know what the hell is going on, what it's all about, I just ask, I read. And I think that's been my main driver.
Very much. Thank you. Yes, anyone else with the question?
I have a couple of questions, but let's wait for the students first. They can type it in the chat. This is what we've done before as well. So now my main concern, Noha, is that when we're talking about, I still remember the first discussions we had, and although you say that you're an introvert, you're a typical extrovert when it comes to speak with your work, so that helps you. But a typical, I wanted to emphasize. So my first question, I wanted to emphasize on the cultural differences, because you mentioned how you were born in Kuwait. You know, like we know each other's families. So I'm not going to make any assumptions for the people who are listening. But coming from Egypt, a female in Egypt, being a female in London, can you please share with you the experiences and how culture can be either a driving force or an obstacle for a female who's trying to be an entrepreneur or intrapreneur for you, in your case?
That's a very good question, George. I come from a very, very conservative background and culture, as I guess is expected of that area where I come from. And I mean, it started with my parents being very protective and not wanting me to study abroad or do anything abroad. And I had to, it sort of like made me put any plans on hold, but not completely disregard them. And that's what I would advise anyone. If you have any dream, don't disregard it if you're being faced with opposition. Just put it on hold for now until the right opportunity comes. And for me, the right opportunity was when I started doing that master's distance learning. Little by little, my parents started to see that I do have potential, that my tutors or whoever is with me on the program see how much I can give and I can develop. And so little by little, when that opportunity came for me to start spreading my wings and go more to the UK and then eventually go full-time UK, they couldn't say no. It's sort of like a transition. You have to take it one day at a time. It cannot happen overnight if you come from a very conservative background. So yeah, I think that would be the way to do it. Just play it diplomatically. Just be strategic about how you employ that strategy. It's a long-term strategy, but it does pay off, believe me.
You mentioned a strategy, and one of the things that I want to emphasize is the strategy that you follow, because this webinar is not only for you to share your story, but also to try to make the students start asking the right questions. Okay, so every single person has their own strategy. I am kind of a person who I like to have a broad spectrum of activities. So my depending on the day of the week, I have a different focus. I'm getting easily bored if I'll do the same thing. On the other hand, I have noticed that you are a far more focused person than I am. In other words, you usually have certain goals and you put them there. We are similar in the way that we have a 5-year plan or whatever, but it is obvious, you know, for example, I can see from your CV that you were focusing on architecture alone, with the technology, but not deviating too much from what you really want to do. So can you please tell us how you work with the strategy, your career strategy, your life strategy. Give us some pointers, especially for younger. And also, I don't want to be again going to the other extreme and say only talking about girls. Okay, so for the boys who are here as well, young people, how to set up the strategy and so on.
Thank you, George. If I understood your question right, and if I didn't, please tell me. I have two ways when I come to think about my strategy going forward. First of all, I like to open several doors. So I might have a preferred direction or door that I want, but I'm always aware that it might not work. So I always put 4 or 5 different alternative routes that I keep open in front of me. And that is by pursuing different avenues or different networks. So even though I have one in particular, but I always have several opened up. I always believe also in that horizontal versus vertical specialization. So as you said, my vertical specialization, or where I'm really specialized in, is construction and architecture. But I need to be an all-rounded person in a lot of other multidisciplinary areas in order to be a successful construction/architectural professional. And that includes computer science with all its areas of visualization, programming. I mean, I used to teach Java programming at one point when I was in Egypt. So you cannot imagine how that was useful to me. Just knowing how to think in object-oriented programming, even though I don't do it now, has helped my career now while I was doing those classification systems. So it is always good to have multi-disciplines that you study or read about or get engaged in addition to your main area. But it might work for other people, but it wouldn't work for me to divide my work or my time equally amongst several focuses. I would want to have one main one and the others complementary or adding to it. So the digital twins right now that I'm doing has a lot to do with computer science and robotics and engineering and things like that. But it is also complementing my main area of construction, which I am in. I don't know if I answered your question, but that's how I think about it.
No, that was exactly what I needed to share with others. Razia, do we have any questions from you guys?
I don't see raised hands, but guys, if you have questions, please let us know. Just also you can speak up or.
I want to add. I just want to add another challenge that. I mean, it might be difficult to talk about is one's person's conviction in oneself. And I will admit that there were many points along the way when I sort of like doubted myself a little bit. Am I able to do this? Will I be able to do it? There are challenges along the way. Who am I? You know, like in the middle of all of these people around me, especially going to new countries and stuff, a new country. And it is always useful to look at the half full cup. I mean, I would tell myself, well, you made it here, so there must be value and merit in you that made you come here. So just continue on and you will fill up the rest of the cup instead of looking at the half empty cup and saying, oh, I'll never get anywhere. There are people who are so much better than me and they already started that journey. No, I mean, don't give up. Just don't give up, no matter what. And even if you do not achieve the actual trajectory that you wanted for yourself, you're going to achieve something which might be even better for you, even if it's deviated a little bit. So I know what the interpersonal challenges can look like, but everybody is capable of overcoming them.
Yeah, thank you very much. I have one naive question. How many hours you worked for such an amazing achievement?
To be fair, when I was doing my MSc and PhD, I was working horrendous amounts of hours.
I remember.
You know, like no weekends, nothing. And I was juggling. I was, I know that a lot of people would say that multitasking isn't possible, but I had to multitask on different things. Now it's a less than before, but there were like 10 or 15 years of my life when I was working like I mean, the word workaholic would have been the correct yeah, description.
I wanted to say something. I remember every single time, I mean, like if you remember, I've mentioned I'm focusing mostly on your professional point rather than the student point, but I know you as a student as well. But it's not a student attitude. The attitude that Noha has, and I'm pretty sure she does this with her line manager as well. Noha has her lists. So, and you can see her smiling, laughing there. So Noha would come to the office because Noha was in Egypt, I was in the UK, and we would meet for the PhD online, but then we would have a meeting every 3 months. And then Noha would come in for a week or 10 days. And for this week, she would absorb every single second that I would have spare. Okay, even if it would be out of hours, but she would come in with a list, and I don't do justice by saying the list. And I was not prepared for this talk, but I have taken 2 pictures of this list while she was not noticing, and I have it somewhere. And I'm pretty sure I'm going to pass them to her probably towards her retirement in 50 years from now. Anyway, but one of the things that it was amazing is that there were meetings where she had 32, 33, 35 items in the list. A typical list would be 20, okay, 15 to 20 points. And that was only for the PhD discussions. So that contradicts something that I have read. I cannot remember where I've read it, but it said, like the number of lists a nation has is retrospective to its maturity or so. I mean, there are a lot of assumptions towards should we use lists or not. Noha is the best example of how she would come on with a list, and I do the same thing. So she would go into a meeting with a clear agenda of what she needs out of that meeting, and this is focused. So one of the things that I learned from Noha is how to be focused on what I want to achieve. That would be when you meet somebody, it could be a single meeting, or it could be a friendship, or it could be anything really, any kind of interaction you have in your lives. And the most amazing thing is that how people come up with great ideas and they are willing to talk about it, and they spend all their lives talking about their ideas. And when they have literally 2 minutes with a senior executive, they're not prepared to sell their idea or sell themselves or make an impression. So it's very important to be prepared according to what you have. So an amazing thing that, and I know that Noha, you wouldn't say it, so this is why I'm describing. So with Noha, on a period of a week, we would have an opportunity for 15 or 20 meetings, or 3 meetings, or non-meetings. Now, if we had a 45-minute meeting, we would have a clear structure. And then if I would say her between teaching or another meeting, I would have 5 minutes. She would prioritize her list. And on these 5 minutes, said, okay, I know you only have 5 minutes before you go home, but I have 2 topics we can discuss in 5 minutes. So, however, I have to say that is very stressful to anyone, including Noha and the person who receives the list. I think we have Saida with a hand raised. Razia, yeah?
Yes, Saida, yes, please, go on, yes.
Hi, nice to meet you guys. Thank you so much for such a great and really great and inspiration that you send, presentation that you share. I feel this energy comes out just from you as the multitasking person and, really great scientist and great woman, which is very hard. And can imagine to become engineering in this world and in this with all those skills, and that is really challenging. And thank you very much for inspirational speech. I do have one question. Do you have any special recipe for the situation when you actually feel this burnout moments? It's usually happen with us when we have a lot of stuff on us in this multitasking thing. And that's burnout situation. What do you do during this situation? Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Saida. If I'm pronouncing your name right.
Yes,
so right. You're so right. Those burnout moments are the times when you start to question yourself and question your ability, which I was talking about earlier. I'm so glad that you mentioned it. What I've discovered, at the beginning, when I would get them, I would try to push myself further, which was so wrong. And I learned that the best thing to do in these moments was just to give, just take a break, just give everything up, just take a little bit of a space, even if that space is a few hours, if you cannot afford any more, and go and do something that you like. even if that something is just to sit down and stare into open space, you know, whether you like to watch something, you like to walk, you like to read, you like to draw, play music, listen to music, whatever. Once you leave it for a few hours or a day or two, and then you come back to it again, it is really amazing how you see it from a different perspective. I have found that a lot when I would be submitting a project or a grant or asked to do something and I get a mental block, absolute mental block. It does really help if I just let it go for a little bit, because I will be unproductive. Even if I force myself to work, I'm not going to do anything. So just let it go for a little bit and then come back to it with fresh eyes again. It really does help. It really does help.
Thank you very much.
I wanted also to share some knowledge, insight, information without too many embarrassing details, Noha. But I have seen Noha taking rescue because he's a devout religion person. So basically, in her religion is really support. You know, like she takes the time to pray, which is really good. I know that we all know that she has a lovely voice and she likes to sing. So basically, she has hobbies that she always manages to squeeze in. And also she gets the support by being very protective and very communicative with friends and family. And an important thing which people need to understand is that, okay, modern families in the UK and in other countries are different. I don't know, I know some about Azerbaijan, but I don't want to assume too much. But, you know, like Noha, you know how much I spend with Erica, my daughter, and I'm not alienated from bringing up a 5-year-old girl, and I'm a really hands-on dad. But this is not necessarily a typical stereotype of men in Azerbaijan, or the majority, or this is how they should be probably. And with my Egyptian friends, it's also the case, and also with some of my Greek friends. So it is very important to understand that Noha has been doing this while she has now two, I wouldn't call them sons, they call grown men now in the US, successful with the scholarships and all that. So it's really important to understand for all the people who attended this webinar is that Noha has achieved that by the same time being a mother and having the responsibility of raising two amazing children to be proper men with proper education, but also ethics and manners. So this is why it is so challenging, and I'm trying to use this as a conclusion for our webinar today, because a lot of people talk about, okay, let's do a webinar series about females, and especially coming from a man, it sounds a contradiction, but when I believe that every male in this world, where the family, where their fathers and their husbands, they need to understand that equality in between the genders, we have to reach a certain point, because there are so many opportunities that our wives would not be having unless they would have some support in the family. So it is really important, isn't it, Noha?
I want to add something to that. You're absolutely right, George. You need to understand that you can't be a super person. Something has to give. So when I was at this crossroads of, I have the 2 jobs, I have the kids, and I have my studies, something will have to give. So I decided that the thing that I will have to give is the amount of cooking and cleaning that I need to do in the house. So to be honest, I started cooking less. I would maybe cook once a week for them, you know, like have all of the cooking available. Of course, I mean, I was faced with a little bit of complaining, and we want fresh food every day and stuff. But I mean, you need to put yourself as well in the equation. You can't just give everybody what they want, and it toughens them up. So if we're talking about my 2 sons, for example, they learned how to be more independent on themselves because their mom couldn't do everything for them. They learned to be appreciative and accepting of cooking that was maybe 1 or 2 days old. They learned to do their own washing. So, I mean, it did help them, not just me. I know it might sound in our societies as that being a little bit selfish from the woman to put her own agenda and career instead of doing every single little thing for her family. But believe me, it's not. The way that my 2 boys have now grown up, and they're 2 grown men, as George is saying, they do appreciate how they manage to be so independent at a young age. As long as you give the things that no one else can give, like your guidance, your support, your love, the way that you instill values and morals in those around you, that is the most important thing. Any other task beyond that can be negated. And don't feel guilty that you cannot do every single thing that you're expected to do as a woman, if I may say it. So yes, thank you, George, for bringing that up. And the lists help. That George
yeah. Remember to have some time for yourself. That should be top on the list. So thank you very much, Noha. Razia, would you like to conclude today's webinar? And again, thanks so much for organizing it again.
Yeah, thank you very much, everyone. Thank you very much, George, for getting us to know Noha, such a wonderful person and such a big achiever. And it was, I think, quite as my colleagues and students are noticing, quite inspirational for them how they have to start without being afraid of losing their chances or losing patience or their ways of desire to become someone, an entrepreneur or intrapreneur or someone they want to become. Oftentimes it happens to myself again also, Noha, that I want to get off from everything and everyone because you are so much get tired because sometimes men do not understand us because we have many obligations as women. We have houses, we have husbands, we have children, we have parents, we have everyone. We have to take care of all of them. That's how, at least in this part of the world, at least how it works. And as you mentioned rightly, there are lots of expectations from us, but you always have to have this trade-off. What you have to give up for what you want to become. And thank you very much, Noha. It was a pleasure meeting you and having you with us. Thank you. Hope to see you in our final conference all together with all our speakers, all wonderful women and entrepreneurs. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for everybody for attending. Bye bye. Have a good day.
Bye bye. Bye. Thank you.